Welcome back to the Brighton Chamber Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Harris, and today I'm joined by Tom Spisz, the founder of Shoot for Life. Thanks for joining me in the studio today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So tell me about Shoot for Life. What is it exactly?
All right, so Shoot for Life is a nonprofit that I founded back when I was 23. So this is actually our 10th year going into it. And it was at a time where at that age, I wouldn't say you felt empty in life, but looking back, I found part of why I'm here and my purpose. A passion of mine's always been archery. Growing up hunting in the woods with my dad, little down to competitive events. And I always realized that I always went back to the bow, regardless if it was for fun, if it was for a difficult time, just to clear your head. And I was sitting there one day and I said, hey, I want to do something that's going to be better to give back to the world, to society, which is what I was instilled with growing up from my parents. You know, they'd have us actively involved with volunteering and helping out others. And, you know, typically when someone starts something, there's mirroring, you got a business and you're kind of, okay, I want to do it kind of like this. This was just off the wall, nothing to mirror off of other than a nonprofit, you know, charity work. And so just started brainstorming some ideas and throwing mud at the wall and said, okay, I want to build this event structure to where the focus is primarily on archery, but it's not always cornered to that because there's always other great activities to create movement in the body, such as running or golf even, you know, and so not be limited. And also with the ailments that we're all affected with in life, you know, I've had my own growing up with, I had surgery when I was 6 weeks old and led to seeing specialist all through my adolescent years. And so, you know, you're touched one way, other people touch the other. So when I came up with the idea, I knew archery was the core, but then it was developing, okay, what do we want to raise awareness for and help and make a difference with? And so when it was incorporated, it was for life-altering illnesses, but our primary focus is for PTSD, you know, trauma, mental health, and then childhood illnesses. And so as the years develop from early onset, you've had times where it's gone not so well, and then other times where it's gone exceptionally well, you know, but you just never give up.
Yeah, exactly. I know of one charity organization that I was somewhat involved in when I was in college that they would have multiple events throughout the year, and each event was catered to like one person. Like all the funds that, you know, were brought in from that event just went to that person and for whatever ailment they might have. Is that kind of how each event happens for Shoot for Life? Or is it like goes into a pool and then is distributed equally to multiple different people?
So primarily each event is tailored to one specific ailment. I'd say in the last 4 years that we've hosted events, the focus has been specifically for PTSD. You know, after 2020, we just did a restructure and refocus and focused more on that one. We are bringing back the one for childhood illnesses, which the money raised at those events, we collaborate with C.S. Mott's Family Hope Fund out of U of M. And that's where I saw my specialist. So that's why we sort of picked that one as a board. And that one is to help the families who their kids are being seen by doctors who they can't afford to come and even see them or stay. So we do that one. And then the ones for PTSD is focused for those, as well as we just did one over at Detroit Archers in West Bloomfield. And that one is money that we raised from previous events that we had some in our account. And we went and we covered the range fees and the lunch for 10 veterans, first responders, military personnel. So that way they can just enjoy the day, no cost to them. There's always a specific purpose where the funding's going.
So can you tell me more about the events themselves? Like what exactly goes on at them?
Yeah. So it's typically, I would say, all-day event. It starts in the morning, goes to the afternoon. The structure of the event is they're 3D animal targets, so they look very realistic. They're set up all throughout the woods. We labeled it Bow Hunters Roundup Off-Grid for PTSD to kind of give that off-grid stature where these archery shots sometimes are difficult as much as you want it because you're not sanctioned, so you don't have to shoot from the stake where we typically have everyone shoot at if you're a beginner. But it's a fun event. Come as you please, shoot as much as you want. But then we also have like a 2-man scramble, which is similar to, people aren't familiar with the archery scrambles. Like think about a golf scramble, multiple people, your scores. So there's some similarity there. Now, those ones, it's more of a structured, you come in at a certain time and you shoot through it, and you'll have those folks that are more competitive. Maybe they've shot a little bit more that they jump in, but it's still fun. It's all for a good cause. And then with that, we have what we call novelty shoots. So that's typically a 100-yard shot at a big elk that's out there, where you can win. Maybe it's a Yeti cooler or anything fun like that. And as well as there's another one, it's called an iron buck, and you have to shoot your arrow through a hole that's about yay big, and if you don't get it through, your arrow is going to blow up on you. And even myself, you'll hit the steel. It's something that entices us to try to, I can make this happen. And so those are additional fun novelty shoots on top of the admission to come in that day. And then we also do your silent auctions, where we have local businesses that support us that way through donated items. If it's some of the items, sometimes we go out and buy ourselves through monetary sponsors, and that takes place all day, where we conclude at the end and pull the winners. Typically, you're going to see some kind of lunch going on. Last year, we added a concert at the end from a local singer, and if you partook in the day, you got to attend it for free. If you didn't, you wanted to come, if you're not an archery person and you wanted to come still support what we were doing, we asked for a $10 donation. So it wasn't impossible. We wanted to expand what else and acquire anybody who wants to support this cause that we're doing. And then on top of that, we do a program called Bows for Vets. With that, we have a nomination portal online. It varies based off our sponsors that we have on how many bows that we can give away. So on average, we were doing about 3 bows every year. Last year, we were blessed and we were able to do 5 bows. So that was a big achievement. But with that, like I was saying, they go through a nomination. We select those nominees. And then at the event, we invite them out. They get to partake in the day for free. And we give these men and women a new bow. And the reason for that is to provide a new outlet, regardless of what you're going through. We're not, deciding based off of whose trauma was greater. It's just provide an outlet. You don't have to go and hunt anything if you don't want to. If you just want to go shoot a target in the backyard, that's fine. It's regardless of how your day was or your week was, if it was great or if it was bad, just provide a new outlet. Get outside. It's to create a prosperous lifestyle. And when you're shooting a bow, those who aren't familiar with it, it's very difficult, I would say near impossible, to let your mind be concerned about what you had been concerned about, whether it's you're down, you're dealing with a traumatic relapse, because there's so many focal points when you're shooting a bow, from how you hook onto your bow with your release. We call it knocking your arrow, which is you're clipping your arrow onto your string. And then as you draw back, you're having to focus on how you're drawing back with your shoulders. And then you're anchoring with your nose. You're looking through a little sight on the string. It's called a peep sight, down to your sight on the bow riser itself. And now you're looking at a target, and you're trying to hold this still and hit your center shot on the target. So by doing that, it's so much focus that your mind forgets what you were worried about, if that was the reason why you're out there. So seeing the benefits that's helped me throughout my life was a reason why I wanted to incorporate that. So that's always, a cherishable moment to help these folks. And we've seen some gentlemen and women, one in particular, he never picked up a bow before he got nominated. We gave him one. The next year he was doing target archery at a local club about an hour away from here. And then the year after that, he found not necessarily this calling, but this drive to get back outside in the woods rather than just walking. And he's decided he wanted to go hunting. So he went and shot his first deer that year. And now I've seen him, and he shot, big bucks now. But it's a great moment and a good feeling to know that you gave this gentleman who was a Marine and Purple Heart a new outlet. And, he told me that he felt lost in life at different times. And that, there's nothing that we gain from it. We're all a volunteer-based organization, so it's just the feel good. That's what matters the most. And so be able to incorporate that as like the staple of that event, and having the community that supports us, the businesses. Planted's one that they've always supported us with the Bows for Vets program, and so it's great to see the local community and the businesses support us in that realm.
No, I think that's awesome. Like getting involved with veterans and everything, giving them that outlet, because I feel like people don't know what they don't know, and if they like don't try archery as that sort of outlet, you don't really think about it, I guess, until you have that opportunity to try it out, like you guys are providing. What made you want to be so involved with veterans?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. Growing up, we were always raised to, love our country, respect our veterans, our military. And that originated from my dad's father. So we were 50% Polish. And so he came over right from Poland. And he came over, and not only, being direct immigrant of Poland, he decided to join the military. And he served in World War II. He was POW. And then he got out. And because of what he went through in those moments, he had a lot of effects from that. And unfortunately, he passed away before I was born. I never got to meet him. I heard stories, good and bad, going off of that. And then you had uncles and cousins who also had served. Typically that points you into the direction that I want to do that too. Well, I remember that conversation, as I think a lot of boys in middle school, junior high school, you start to talk about that. And me and my one good friend at the time, we were looking at getting involved and joining the military. Well, unfortunately, he got in some trouble, and he had to go in early because the judge gave him an ultimatum. I don't know if they still do that now, but they did make us go to jail or go into the military. So he joined, and he was 82nd. And I know earlier I mentioned the surgeries that I had when I was younger. Well, he got in, and then, I start conversating to still plan on going after I graduate, and come to find out, due to my health ailments, I wouldn't have been able to join. And so, it's a different feeling, and I can't directly say that ties to like the drive to want to assist other than just do the right thing. But I'm sure there's some, I never looked at it like that, but it's my way to help without actually being, boots on the ground with these guys. And, I remember that same friend, when he was serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, he'd call me on his sat phone a few times, and he's talking to me, and you just be there for these people. So everything, what I realize now, being 35, is all these little stepping stones in life of what we go through. They're teeing us up for what we are doing today. And looking back, it's like, yes, that's, you have frustration moments, but, being there for a friend who was serving, for other people that I know, uncles that I'd served, the grandfather that I ever met that you heard, and just that you love our country so much that, not only do you immigrant over here from Poland, but now you're going to serve, and then you're, prisoner of war and come out. I'd say that has a motivational factor behind it. And it's such a great feeling to help these men and women out in the way that we can. And it doesn't feel like it's enough, but I know it's what we're able to do. You can see that with, being a humble person, and still at these events, when you go give these guys these bows, there was one fella, and here I'm just saying, hey, this is just for me. I don't want anything. We don't showboat them. We don't put them on a pedestal. That's not what we're doing this for. And he tells me, he goes, after saying the same story, he goes, even though you couldn't serve then, he goes, you're serving us now. And he goes, that's a lot more than what a lot of people are doing. And all I thought was, I'm going, my God, like, here's this guy who's served, went on a few deployments, and I thought I was being humble, and he's even still more humble than I am, saying, hey, thank you for serving us now, and, and giving him this outlet. So it's touching to be able to take, moments and build it into something.
Yeah. No, serving those who have served. And I feel like a lot of people don't think about how important that is. And that's awesome that you're doing that, really. Kind of going back to something you touched on earlier was like beginners going to the events. So it's very like beginner friendly, would you say? And are people able to rent equipment if they want to be involved but don't necessarily have bows of their own yet?
Yes, so it's very friendly from beginners to experts. And if you come out to the event, you're going to see folks who have bows that they just picked them up from Cabela's to some that look like these things are the Cadillac of the archery world. You know, they have the stabilizers that are 30 inches long, and they're all having fun, but it's also a way to practice. Kids, there's predetermined stakes. So there's kids that can go all the way up closer because they all like to make that challenge. Like, even if their bow might not be strong enough, they'll be like, I can make it. So it's, but ultimately they could go 10 feet from the target if they wish. On the bows itself to be able to provide, that's on our list of goals, is to be able to do that eventually. So we'll collaborate and partner with local clubs when we host these. So like one's a conservation club. It's Livingston Wildlife Conservation Club on 36 in Whitmore Lake there. They do have some youth bows on hand to where if individuals come out, we can pull those out and use them, which makes it nice to not leave anybody out. But if it's an event where someone, maybe it's someone who's a little bit older, we don't really have that, it's still a beautiful walking course you can go on. We also include like horseshoes and other fun things, cornhole. But yeah, like I said, the goal is to eventually be able to have a setup of different bows and be able to provide people the opportunity to go out and shoot, maybe find a new outlet for themselves.
Definitely. Where exactly are these events? Do they kind of go like change and go around, or is it kind of the same spot all the time?
So the one club that I just mentioned is sort of the staple partner that we have, and one of our large events, the one for PTSD, is there every year. We also, back in January, we did the range day for the military first responders over at Detroit Archers in West Bloomfield. We're looking at doing something this fall, possibly. It's not going to be archery. It's going to be in fishing, getting some guys and girls out on boats, providing the outlet. Say, we got the boats, here's the rods, let's go fishing for the day. We've done them over in Lansing at the Demer Center before. So it's capability of going all over. It's just the matter of resources and volunteers and the ability to get there. And so as we continue to scale, and actually one of our goals is to play off that off-grid nature, and we want to get a trailer. We want to go purchase a couple courses of our own targets. So that would be 2 20-target courses of 3D animals, so we can throw them on the trailer, have some bows, and where we can literally go anywhere. We don't have to be so much dependent on a local archery club that already has the targets, which is still fun. There's nothing wrong with collaborating to have a bigger outreach, but it's a lot of fun to be able to just go to a random ski hill or a chunk of woods and truly set up this course of target where it feels off grid. It feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, and make these challenging shots. So that's something we hope to be able to do here in the near future.
Definitely. And how can people kind of help you reach that goal?
So they can help us, one, follow us, support us, share when we have these events going on, anything else that we're doing. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. So donating to us, that helps. If you're a business, you're looking to partner, we have different sponsorship opportunities, monetary, as well as if it's an item, that helps us at the events. But if we have that, and if what we're doing aligns with, your business or you as a person, we cherish that, and that will help us achieve those goals.
Definitely. What are some events that are coming up that you'd like to get people involved with?
Okay, yeah. So the biggest one that's coming up is going to be on August 2nd, and that's at the Livingston Wildlife Conservation Club. Whitmore Lake, it's right off 36. It's a nice club. It's right off the Huron River, so they have a nice pond too, where typically they do like a kids fishing derby. So it's just a beautiful scene where you get the canal comes up. We have that course all set up with the targets. The staff there on the archery committee does a wonderful job at keeping the trails groomed and wood chips down. So it's not, you don't have to worry about going through those burrs or thick aspects. It's more friendly. That's going to be a large one. And again, we're going to have the structure. It's typically 20 to 30 3D animal targets. We have the novelty shoots. You'll have the fun, the cornhole, and the horseshoes. We are going to be doing the concert again at the end to conclude it with, and as well as silent auction items.
Awesome. Tom, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to bring up?
Oh boy, there's always so much more. Like what else can we talk about? I would say, the biggest thing to conclude is, regardless of what someone is going through in life, when you're talking about PTSD and trauma, obviously that's a big focus of ours, childhood illnesses, but the mental health aspect is you're not alone. There is an outlet. If you're looking for the outlet that we can provide, reach out. We're here to help. We're here to give you suggestions. Get outside, get behind a hobby, whether it's archery or running. We just want to see people become better and go through. And I've been there. I've gone through hard times. I know a lot of people who have as well. So like I said, regardless of what you're facing, you're not alone.
Definitely. So where should people go to find more information?
You can go to our website. It's shootforlife.org. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram.
On the website, do people have to sign up to go to the events, or is it just show up and sign up there?
So we have a sign up option online. If you don't want to worry about dealing with it when you arrive. Typically, it helps us gauge as well, if you can. If you're going to do the more fun, competitive scramble that we offer, definitely sign up online. That helps us figure out how many people that we're looking at. And there's also, any questions we have, the contact us forms.
So we'll include those links in the show notes below. But thanks for joining us in the studio today. Thanks for joining us this week, and definitely look into Shoot for Life. It seems like a great cause to get involved with. We'll catch you on the next one.